So you've got a portfolio full of amazing work, right? But it's just sitting there in a plain old document. Well, in this explainer, we're going to take that and turn it into something truly polished and professional, all with the power of CSS. If you're just starting out with web design, you are in the perfect place. Let's dive in.
I love this quote because it really hits the nail on the head. Think about it. Your projects, your skills, your bio, that's your story. CSS is the tool you use to tell that story visually. It's not just about writing code. It's about becoming a digital storyteller. Okay, so look at this. On the left, that's your HTML. It's the skeleton, the basic structure of your portfolio. And on the right, well, that's what it looks like without any style. All the right words are there, but it has zero personality, right? This is exactly where CSS steps in to save the day. So what is this magic I keep talking about? It's CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Honestly, just think of it as the ultimate artist toolkit for the web. It's how we're going to add all that visual punch and turn that plain document into a knockout portfolio. Now, here's a really crucial idea you need to grasp, and it's the foundation of all modern web design. It's this principle, the separation of content and presentation. What does that mean? It means your HTML should only care about the what, like this is a headline, this is a paragraph. And the CSS, it handles the how it looks, the colors, the fonts, the layout, everything visual. Keeping these two separate is an absolute game changer. So, how do we do this professionally? We use what's called an external style sheet. It sounds fancy, but it's a super simple three-step process. First, you just create a new file and call it styles.css. Easy. Step 2, you pop a single line of code into the head of your HTML file to link them together, and bam. Step 3, you can now style your entire website from that one single file. It's so much cleaner and easier to manage. All right, first big concept on our list, mastering digital space. And the foundation of literally everything you see on a web page is something called the box model. To really control your layout, you have to understand that every single element, a paragraph, an image, a heading, is treated as a rectangular box. Let's peel back the layers. Okay, at the very core, the absolute center of the box is your content. Your text, your pictures, whatever. Its size is just determined by its width and height. This is the heart of the element that we're going to build around. Now, wrapping around that content is the first layer, padding. The best way to think about padding is as breathing room inside the box. It creates space between your content and the edge or the frame of the element. Next up, we've got the border. This is literally the frame that goes around your content and its padding. You can style this however you want. Make it thick, thin, dotted, solid, any color you can imagine. It's a fantastic way to visually separate elements. And finally, we get to the outermost layer, the margin. If padding is the space inside the box, margin is the space outside the box. It's like a personal bubble for your element, pushing other elements away so things don't feel all cramped and cluttered. Seriously, get these 4 layers down, content, padding, border, and margin, and you've basically mastered spacing on the web. Okay, so we know how to give our boxes space, but how do we actually arrange them on the page? For that, we're going to call in the big guns, one of the most powerful and honestly life-changing tools in modern CSS called Flexbox. So what is Flexbox? In a nutshell, it's a layout model that gives you almost godlike control over how you align things and distribute space. You can line up items in a nice, neat row or a column, and it automatically, and I mean automatically, handles the spacing between them. It takes what used to be really complex layout problems and makes them, well, kind of simple. All right, let's talk about a common situation. What happens when you have more than one rule trying to style the same thing? Imagine one rule says your title should be blue, but another one says it should be red. Who wins? Well, the browser doesn't just guess. It uses a very clear system of rules called specificity to decide. Understanding this hierarchy is everything. Think of it like a game of cards. An ID selector, which is meant to be for one unique element on a page, is like the ace. It's got the highest specificity. It's your trump card. Then you've got class selectors, which are kind of in the middle. And at the bottom of the pile are the general element selectors, like styling all H1s. The more specific your selector is, the more power it has. Simple as that. And here's a perfect example of that in action. See that H1 element? It has both a class and an ID. In our CSS, we have one rule using the class to make it blue and another rule using the ID to make it red. So who wins the fight? The ID, of course, because it has higher specificity, that role wins and our title will be red. End of story. So, to stop these kinds of style wars before they even start, a lot of pros use a naming system called BEM. It stands for Block, Element, Modifier. It looks a little weird at first with names like card, underscore button, underscore dash primary, but it's genius. It tells you exactly what an element is and where it belongs. This is the primary version of a button that's part of a card. This simple trick keeps your CSS super organized, predictable, and way easier to manage long term. Okay, we have talked structure, we've talked rules. Now for the really fun stuff, adding that visual flair and personality. Let's dive into how you can craft the whole mood of your portfolio using colors and gradients.
When it comes to backgrounds, you have an awesome toolkit at your disposal. You can use a simple background color for a solid look. You can use a background image for a photo or a pattern, or, and this is a personal favorite of mine, you can use a background gradient to create these beautiful, smooth transitions between colors. Oh, and you can even decide if that background scrolls with the page or stays locked in place. So much control.
Okay, we are so close, but this last step is, well, it's arguably the most important one. We need to make sure our amazing portfolio looks just as good on a tiny phone screen as it does on a massive desktop monitor. And that, my friends, is called responsive design. So how do we make things responsive? We use queries. The classic tool is a media query. It basically asks the browser, hey, how big is the entire screen? And you can write rules like, if the screen is less than 600 pixels wide, do this. But there's a newer, really cool tool called a container query. Instead of asking about the whole screen, it asks, how big is the specific box I'm inside? This is an absolute game changer for building components that can adapt and fit anywhere you put them. And hey, here's a quick pro tip for you. When you're setting font sizes, try to use relative units like rem. Why? Because it means your text will scale not just with the screen size, but also with the user's own font settings in their browser. It makes your site so much more accessible and comfortable to read for everyone. It's a small change that makes a big difference. So, let's just take a second to remember where we started. Remember this? Just a plain, unstyled HTML document. It had all the right information, but no style. Just the raw story, waiting for a designer. And now, look at this. After putting all those key ideas into practice, the box model for spacing, Flexbox for layout, understanding specificity, and making it all responsive, this is what we get, a polished, professional portfolio that looks incredible on any device. We've used CSS to truly tell our story, so the only question left for you is, what story are you going to design next?